The door to the private chambers smashed open. It sounded like thunder, but the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm inside the room. Lucas stood in the doorway. He was the Alpha, the king of all wolves. His shoulders were wide and his eyes were glowing a bright, angry red. He was shaking, not from cold but from rage. And he saw it. He saw the one thing that could break his heart into a million pieces. His mate Sarah was in the arms of another man. It was Marcus, his own brother, his beater. Sarah's hands were on Marcus's chest. Their faces were so close. To anyone watching, it looked like a kiss. It looked like a secret love. It looked like the worst kind of betrayal. "Get away from her," Lucas roared. The sound was so loud the windows rattled, the glass cracked. Sarah jumped back, her eyes wide with terror. She had not been kissing Marcus, she had been crying, she had been weak. She had almost fainted and Marcus had caught her. But Lucas did not see that. He only saw the betrayal. He only saw his Omega, the woman he loved more than life itself, holding another man. "Lucas, please," Sarah cried out. She took a step toward him. "It's not what you think." "Do not speak to me," Lucas growled. His voice was becoming deep and scratchy like a wolf ready to bite. His hands turned into claws. "I gave you everything, I made you queen, and this is how you pay me back." He looked at Marcus. "And you, my own blood." Marcus lowered his head, baring his neck. He was a strong wolf, but no one could stand against the Alpha when he was this angry. "Alpha, she was sick, she was dizzy, I only caught her." "Liar," Lucas shouted. He grabbed a heavy wooden table and threw it across the room. It smashed against the stone wall. "I saw you, I saw her looking at you, I have seen the way you whisper in the halls." Lucas walked forward. The air in the room felt heavy, like it was hard to breathe. This was the Alpha's power. It made everyone want to fall to their knees. Sarah fell to the floor. She was trembling. She put a hand over her stomach. She had a secret, a big, beautiful secret. She was going to tell Lucas tonight. She was pregnant. She was carrying the heir to the kingdom. That was why she was dizzy. That was why she was weak. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Lucas, look at me. It's Sarah. I love you, only you." Lucas stopped in front of her. He looked down. His face was hard as stone. The love that usually filled his eyes was gone. Now there was only cold, black hate. "The Sarah I loved is dead," he whispered. The hurt in his voice was worse than his shouting. "You have broken the bond." He turned his back on her. "Guards." Two large wolves in human form rushed into the room. "Take the beater to the dungeons," Lucas ordered. "And take this traitor to the judgment hall." "Lucas, no," Sarah screamed as the guards grabbed her arms. "I am carrying your—" "Silence," he roared. He did not let her finish. He did not want to hear her lies. "Get her out of my sight before I kill her myself." Sarah was dragged away, her feet dragging on the stone floor. She sobbed, trying to reach out for him, but he refused to look. He stood by the window, watching the rain pour down, his heart bleeding, convinced that his life was over. But he didn't know that the real nightmare was just beginning. 1 hour later, the judgment hall was full. Every wolf in the pack was there. They whispered to each other. They pointed. "The Omega cheated with the Alpha's brother. She deserves death." Sarah stood in the center of the cold stone circle. She was shivering. Her simple grey dress was torn. Her hair was messy. She looked small and weak, but she kept her chin up. She kept one hand protective over her belly. "I have to be strong," she told herself, "for the baby." The heavy doors opened. Lucas walked in. He was wearing his black fur cloak. He sat on the high throne. He looked like a god of war. He did not look at Sarah. He looked above her head. "Sarah," he said, his voice echoed in the silent hall. "You have been accused of breaking the mate bond. You were found in the arms of another." "I am innocent," Sarah said clearly. Her voice shook a little, but she spoke the truth. "I was faint. I am," she tried to say it again. "I am with child, Lucas, your child." The crowd gasped. The room went silent. Lucas's eyes snapped down to her. For a second there was hope in his eyes, but then the jealousy returned, darker than before. "My child," he laughed, but it was a cruel, scary sound. "Or his child." Sarah felt like he had slapped her. "Yours, I have never touched another." "You lie," Lucas stood up. "You were with him in the chambers. You have been spending time with him for weeks. Do you think I am blind? If there is a child, it is a bastard. It is a sign of your sin." The pain in Sarah's chest was so bad she thought she might die right there. The man she loved, her fated mate, was calling their baby a lie. "I reject it," Lucas said coldly, "and I reject you." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. The mark on her neck, the bite mark he had given her when they mated, burned like fire. She screamed in pain and fell to her knees. "I, Alpha Lucas of the Shadow Moon Pack, break my bond with Sarah," he announced. The magic in the room felt like a rubber band snapping. Sarah gasped for air. She felt empty, cold, alone. "You are no longer Luna, you are no longer Pack," Lucas declared. He pointed to the door. "You are an exile, you are a rogue." A murmur went through the crowd. To be a rogue was a death sentence. A lone wolf without a pack would go crazy, or be killed by hunters, or starve in the wild lands. "Lucas, please," Sarah whispered. She was too weak to shout anymore. "Winter is coming, the snow is already falling. I will not survive, the baby will not survive." Lucas gripped the arms of his throne until the wood cracked. He wanted to run to her, he wanted to hold her, but the image of her in Marcus's arms burned in his mind. He could not look weak. He could not forgive a traitor. "Then let the winter take you," Lucas said. His voice was dead. "Leave now. If you are found on my lands by sunrise, you will be hunted down like a deer." The guards pulled Sarah up. They pushed her toward the great doors. She looked back one last time. She looked at Lucas. She wanted him to see her eyes. She wanted him to see the truth. But he looked away. Sarah turned. She wiped the tears from her face. If he wanted her dead, she would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her beg anymore. She walked out of the hall. She walked out of the castle. She walked out into the freezing rain. She walked through the village. The wolves who used to smile at her now threw mud. They spat at her. "Traitor. Oh, leave us." She kept her head down. She kept walking. She walked past the warm houses. She walked past the Pack hospital where she used to help heal the sick. She walked until the road turned into dirt, and the dirt turned into the dark, scary forest. The forbidden forest. This was the border. Beyond this line the Alpha had no power. Beyond this line there were monsters, ancient things, things that ate wolves. Sarah stopped at the tree line. The rain had turned to ice. She was soaking wet. She was shivering so hard her teeth chattered. She put both hands on her stomach. "I am sorry, little one," she whispered to the baby. "I am so sorry, Daddy doesn't want us." A howl ripped through the night. It came from the castle. It was Lucas. It was a howl of pain and anger. He was mourning the loss of his mate, even though he was the one who sent her away. Sarah took a deep breath. She stepped over the line. She was now a rogue. She walked for hours. The trees here were huge. They blocked out the moon. It was pitch black. Roots tripped her. Thorns tore her dress and scratched her skin. She was bleeding. She was exhausted. Suddenly, she heard a sound. Snap. A twig breaking. Sarah froze. She was an omega. She wasn't a fighter. She sniffed the air. It smelled like rot. It smelled like old blood. Yellow eyes appeared in the darkness, then more, then more. 3 massive wolves stepped out of the shadows. They weren't like the wolves in the kingdom. Their fur was patchy and falling out. Their teeth were yellow and crooked. They were rogues, madness wolves. They growled low in their throats. They saw a weak, pregnant female. They saw an easy meal. Sarah backed up until her back hit a large, ancient tree. "Please," she whimpered. "I have nothing." The biggest rogue snapped his jaws. Drool dripped onto the dead leaves. He crouched, ready to jump. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. She curled around her stomach. "Save us," she prayed. She didn't know who she was praying to. "Someone, please save us." The rogue leaped. Sarah waited for the teeth. She waited for the pain. But it never came. Instead, the ground beneath her feet began to hum. It felt like an earthquake. The ancient tree behind her started to glow. A strange, silver light pulsed from the bark. It wasn't fire. It was something older. It was moonlight, but it was coming from inside the earth. The rogue wolf hit an invisible wall of energy and flew backward, yelping in pain. Sarah opened her eyes. The forest was glowing. The leaves were shining silver. The roots of the tree were moving, wrapping around her like a cradle. And then she felt it. A power, not her own weak omega power, but something huge. Something that had been sleeping in these woods for 1,000 years. It rushed into her body. Her eyes, usually a soft brown, suddenly flashed a blinding, electric violet. The ancient magic had found a vessel, and it was angry. The violet light was blinding. It was brighter than the sun. It was brighter than lightning. The 3 rogue wolves yelped and covered their eyes with their paws. The air smelled like ozone and crushed flowers. Sarah felt her feet lift off the ground. She wasn't flying, but the roots of the ancient tree were holding her up. They were like a mother's arms. The magic rushed through her blood. It felt hot, like drinking hot soup on a cold day, but it also felt scary. It was too big for her small body. "Leave," Sarah's voice rang out, but it didn't sound like her voice. It sounded like 1,000 women speaking at once. It sounded like the wind in the trees and the crash of the ocean. The lead rogue, the one with the yellow teeth, tried to growl. He was starving. He didn't want to lose his meal. He lunged forward again, trying to bite through the light. Zap! A bolt of purple energy shot from Sarah's hand. She didn't mean to do it, it just happened. The energy hit the rogue in the chest. He flew backward through the air, smashing into a thick oak tree. He slumped to the ground, whimpering. His fur was singed. He looked at Sarah with pure terror. "Monster," the rogue howled. "She is a witch." The other 2 wolves didn't wait. They tucked their tails between their legs and ran. They ran faster than they had ever run before. They disappeared into the black shadows of the forest. Sarah was alone again. Slowly the light faded. The violet glow in her eyes dimmed back to soft brown. The roots gently placed her back on the muddy ground. Sarah's knees gave out, she collapsed, she was panting hard. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt. She looked at her hands, they were trembling. There were faint, glowing silver lines under her skin, like veins of starlight. "What is happening to me?" she whispered into the darkness. She put her hands on her belly. "Are you okay, little one?" She felt a flutter, a tiny kick. It was strong, stronger than before. The baby was safe. The magic had protected them. But she couldn't stay here. The rogues might come back with more wolves, or worse, Lucas might send his hunters. She had to move. The ancient tree seemed to point the way. The branches swayed, even though there was no wind. They pointed deeper into the forest, into the parts of the woods that no wolf had entered for hundreds of years. The deep wilds. Sarah stood up. Her legs felt heavy, but her spirit felt strange. She felt awake. She started walking. The rain stopped falling on her. The leaves above her wove together to make a roof. The moss on the ground glowed softly to light her path. The forest was not attacking her anymore. It was welcoming her home. Back at the Shadow Moon Castle, the mood was funeral quiet. The storm outside had stopped, but the castle felt freezing. The servants walked on tiptoes. No one dared to speak above a whisper. In the Alpha's office, Lucas sat in his chair. The room was dark. The only light came from the fireplace, where the logs were burning down to ash. Lucas held a glass of whiskey in his hand, but he wasn't drinking it. He was staring at it. He was staring at the amber liquid, remembering the color of Sarah's eyes when she laughed. He threw the glass into the fire. It shattered. The flames roared up for a second, then died down. "Why?" he groaned. He put his head in his hands. "Why did you do it, Sarah?" He felt like his chest had been ripped open. The mate bond was broken, but the phantom pain was still there. It felt like a hook pulling at his soul. Every minute that passed, he felt her getting farther away. He felt her cold. He felt her fear. "Alpha." Lucas snapped his head up. His eyes glowed red. "I said I did not want to be disturbed." It was his Gamma, the 3rd in command. A stout, strong wolf named Talon. Talon looked nervous. "I know, Alpha, but the Beta, Marcus, he is screaming in the dungeons. He is upsetting the guards. He demands to speak to you." Lucas growled. The sound rumbled deep in his chest. "Let him rot." He says he has proof, Alpha," Talon said quietly. "He says you made a mistake." Lucas stood up so fast his chair fell over. "Mistake? I saw them. I saw his hands on her." But a tiny voice in the back of his head whispered, "What if? What if he was wrong? What if the love of his life was out there in the freezing dark, innocent and pregnant with his child?" The thought made him sick. It made him want to tear the castle down. "Bring him up," Lucas ordered. His voice was cold as ice. "But if he lies to me one more time, I will rip his throat out myself." 10 minutes later, the guards dragged Marcus into the office. Marcus looked terrible. His face was bruised. His lip was cut. He had been beaten by the guards who thought he was a traitor. They threw him on the floor in front of Lucas. "Speak," Lucas said. Marcus spat blood onto the rug. He looked up at his brother. He wasn't afraid, he was angry. "You are a fool, Lucas." Lucas took a step forward, his claws extending. "Careful." "She was sick, Lucas," Marcus shouted. She has been sick for weeks. She didn't want to tell you because she wanted it to be a surprise. She was scared you would worry about the pack wars. She was trying to protect you. She was in your arms, Lucas snarled. She fainted, Marcus yelled back. I caught her. I am your brother. I would never touch your mate. How can you be so blind? How can your jealousy be stronger than your love? Lucas froze. He remembered the look on Sarah's face, the terror, the confusion. She hadn't looked guilty. She had looked heartbroken. And the baby? Lucas asked, his voice shaking. She said it was mine. Marcus laughed, a bitter, sad sound. Of course it is yours. I have never touched her. If you had used your nose, if you had smelled her instead of just seeing red, you would have known. You would have smelled your own scent on her. You would have smelled the pup. Lucas felt the blood drain from his face. He staggered back. He leaned against the heavy oak desk to stop himself from falling. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He tried to remember the scent in the room. Underneath the anger, underneath the betrayal, was there something else? Vanilla, rain, and pine, his scent, mixed with the sweet, milky scent of a new life. It hit him like a physical blow. Oh God, Lucas whispered. You sent her to die, Marcus said ruthlessly. You sent your pregnant mate into the forbidden forest in the middle of winter. The rogues are out there. The monsters are out there. Lucas opened his eyes. The red was gone. Now they were just the eyes of a man who realized he had killed his own world. Get the trackers, Lucas whispered. What? Talon asked. Get the trackers, Lucas roared. The sound shook the walls. Get every wolf, get the guards, get the scouts. We go to the forest now. But Alpha, Talon stammered. It is night, the forbidden forest, it is dangerous. I don't care, Lucas grabbed his cloak. He didn't bother with the buttons, he was already shifting. His bones cracked and reshaped. Black fur sprouted from his skin. A massive snout pushed out. In seconds, a giant black wolf stood in the office. He let out a howl that woke the entire kingdom. It wasn't a howl of command, it was a howl of desperation. I am coming, Sarah, he thought. Please be alive, please. Sarah had been walking for hours. Her feet were bleeding, her shoes were ruined. But she didn't feel the pain. The magic was numbing her body. The forest had changed. The trees here were silver, not brown. The leaves were blue. The air was warm, like a spring day. She came to a clearing. In the center was a pool of water. The water was crystal clear, glowing with a soft blue light. Steam rose from the surface. A hot spring. Sarah stumbled toward it. She was so thirsty. She knelt by the edge and cupped the water in her hands. She drank. It tasted like honey and mint. It made her head clear. It made the pain in her heart dull a little. You have come far, little Omega. Sarah spun around. She splashed water everywhere. Standing on the other side of the pool was a wolf. But it wasn't a normal wolf. It was huge. It was white as snow, with eyes that looked like galaxies. It was semi-transparent. A spirit. Sarah gasped. Are you a ghost? The great white wolf lowered its head. I am the memory. I am the guardian of this spring. I have waited 1,000 years for you. Sarah hugged her belly. For me, why? Because you carry the blood, the wolf said. Its voice was in her head, deep and ancient. Not just the blood of your alpha, but the blood of the ancients. You have awakened the lost magic. I don't want magic, Sarah cried. I just want to be safe. I want my baby to be safe. My mate threw us away. The spirit wolf walked across the water. It didn't sink. It stepped onto the grass and sat in front of her. Your mate is a fool, but he is part of the prophecy too. Pain is the fire that forges the strongest steel. The wolf looked at her stomach. The child you carry is powerful, too powerful for a normal body. That is why you were sick. The child is draining your life force to grow. Sarah's eyes widened. Is the baby hurting me? The baby does not mean to, the wolf explained gently. But it is a dragon trying to grow inside a bird's nest. You are an Omega. Your body is not built for this kind of power. That is why the magic awoke, to save you. The wolf stepped closer. Its nose touched Sarah's forehead. But the magic has a cost, Sarah. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What cost? It will change you, the spirit said. If you accept this power to save your baby, you will no longer be just a wolf. You will be something else. Something the world has not seen since the Great Wars, and if you are not strong enough, the power will burn you to ash from the inside out. Sarah looked down at her belly. She thought of Lucas. She thought of how he looked at her with hate. She thought of the rogues with their yellow teeth. She had no choice, she had to survive, she had to protect the baby. I don't care about the cost, Sarah said fiercely. Save my baby, do whatever you have to do. The spirit wolf nodded, very well. It opened its mouth and breathed a cloud of silver mist over Sarah. The mist wrapped around her. It felt like fire, it felt like ice. Sarah screamed. Meanwhile, at the edge of the forest, Lucas and 50 of his strongest wolves crashed through the undergrowth. They were in wolf form, running hard. Their paws thundered on the earth. Lucas was in the lead. His nose was to the ground. He was tracking her scent. Vanilla rained fear. The scent was getting weaker. The rain had washed most of it away. He was panicking. Suddenly he stopped. He skidded in the mud. Ahead of him, lying near a burnt tree, were 3 bodies. Lucas shifted back to human form. He was naked, but he didn't care. He ran to the bodies. They were wolves, rogues. But they hadn't been killed by claws or teeth. They were scorched. Their fur was burned off in strange, spiral patterns. Their eyes were wide open, frozen in a look of pure horror. The tree behind them was blasted apart, as if lightning had struck it from the ground up. "What is this?" Talon asked, shifting and walking up behind Lucas. "Lightning." Lucas touched the burnt tree. It was still hot. He could feel a hum in the wood, a vibration. "No," Lucas whispered. "This isn't lightning, this is magic." "Magic?" Talon looked scared. "Alpha witches have been extinct for centuries. Who could do this?" Lucas looked into the deep, dark forest. He felt a pull in his chest, a terrifying pull. "She is in there," Lucas said, "and she is not alone." Just then the ground shook. A massive beam of violet light shot up into the sky from miles away, deep in the heart of the forest. It pierced the clouds. It turned the night sky purple. The wolves whined and covered their ears. The sound was a high-pitched scream of power. Lucas stared at the light. His heart stopped. He felt the bond, the broken, tattered thread that connected him to Sarah, suddenly snap tight. But instead of the warm, soft bond he used to have, it felt like he had grabbed a live wire. Pain shot through his head. He fell to his knees, clutching his skull. "Argh," Lucas screamed. "Alpha," Talon grabbed him. "What is it?" "Sarah," Lucas gasped. His nose started to bleed. She's burning." In the sanctuary, Sarah was floating in the center of the silver mist. Her back arched, her eyes were rolled back in her head. Her mouth was open in a silent scream. The power was too much. It was flooding her veins, rewriting her DNA. Her bones were breaking and reforming. Her skin was glowing so bright it was translucent. You could see her heart beating inside her chest, a frantic, bird-like flutter. The spirit wolf watched with sad eyes. "Hold on, little Omega," the spirit whispered. "Fight it." But Sarah couldn't fight it. The fire was consuming her. She felt the baby kick, a hard, panicked kick. "No," Sarah thought, "not the baby. Take me, but not the baby." Blood started to trickle from her nose, then from her eyes, then from her ears. She fell from the air, crashing onto the grass beside the pool. She convulsed. The violet light around her turned a dark, angry red. The spirit wolf howled. "The vessel is cracking, the power is rejecting her." Sarah gasped for air, but her lungs wouldn't work. She looked up at the sky. She saw the moon. "Lucas," she thought, "help me." Her vision went black. Her heart gave one last, slow thump and then stopped. The violet light exploded, shattering the trees around the clearing, and silence fell over the forest. The silence in the clearing was heavier than the storm. The great white spirit wolf bowed its head. The silver mist that had been swirling around Sarah began to drift away, like smoke from a dying fire. Sarah lay perfectly still on the glowing moss. Her skin was pale, marble-white, and the violet light in her veins had faded to a dull, bruised grey. She wasn't breathing. Miles away, at the edge of the burnt forest, Lucas let out a sound that wasn't human. It wasn't even a wolf's howl. It was the sound of a soul being ripped in half. He collapsed into the mud, clutching his chest. "She's gone," Lucas gasped, his voice breaking. "The bond, it's silent, I can't feel her anymore." Talon and the other guards moved toward him, but Lucas lashed out, his claws tearing through the air. "Don't touch me, she's dead, my mate is dead because of me." He looked up at the purple pillar of light in the distance. It was flickering now, dying out. Lucas didn't think. He didn't plan. He shifted back into his massive black wolf form and charged into the deep forest. He ran so fast his paws barely touched the ground. He crashed through thorns that tore his fur and leaped over fallen trees. I will find her, he thought, his mind a roar of agony. Even if I have to carry her body back myself, I will find her. Back in the sanctuary, the spirit wolf stepped closer to Sarah's still body. It sniffed her hair. So much power, the spirit whispered, and so little time. Suddenly, a tiny golden spark flickered deep inside Sarah's womb. The spirit wolf froze, its galaxy-colored eyes widened. The child was not dead. The child was using its own new raw magic to jumpstart its mother's heart. Thump. A tiny, quiet sound, like a pebble falling into a deep well. Thump thump. The violet light in Sarah's veins didn't just return, it turned gold. The golden light of the ancient sun wolves. It flowed up from her stomach, through her chest, and into her brain. Sarah's eyes snapped open. They weren't brown, they weren't violet, they were a burning, molten gold. She sat up with a jerk, gasping for air. The wind picked up, swirling around the clearing in a golden cyclone. The water in the pool rose up, forming a shimmering wall. The child has chosen, the spirit wolf said, sounding almost afraid. The Omega is no more, the queen has risen. Sarah stood up. She didn't feel weak. She didn't feel like a broken exile. She felt tall. She felt ancient. She looked at her hands and saw that the scratches from the thorns were gone. Her skin was flawless. Her hair, once dull and tangled, now shone like silk. She turned her head. She could hear everything. She heard a mouse breathing under a root a mile away. She heard the clouds moving. And she heard the heavy, frantic heartbeat of a black wolf sprinting toward her. Lucas. A cold, hard smile touched Sarah's lips. It wasn't a smile of love, it was a smile of power. He is coming, she said. Her voice was musical, but it had an edge like a diamond blade. He seeks forgiveness, the spirit wolf warned. He seeks a ghost, Sarah replied, but he will find a goddess. The bushes at the edge of the clearing exploded. Lucas, in his black wolf form, skidded into the sanctuary. He was covered in mud, blood, and sweat. He shifted back to his human form midair, landing on his knees. Sarah, he choked out. He saw her standing by the pool. For a second he thought he was seeing a vision. She was glowing. She looked more beautiful than the moon itself. Sarah, thank the gods. Lucas sobbed, trying to crawl toward her. I was wrong, I know the truth now. Marcus told me everything, I'm so sorry, please, come home, I'll make it right. I'll kill anyone who looked at you wrong, just come back to me. Sarah didn't move, she didn't run to him, she didn't cry. She just looked down at him as if he were a bug. The Sarah you knew died in the snow, Alpha, she said. The word Alpha sounded like an insult coming from her. Lucas stopped crawling, he looked up confused. What, Sarah, it's me, it's Lucas, your mate. I have no mate, Sarah said. She took a step toward him and the ground beneath her feet bloomed with white flowers instantly. You rejected the bond, you rejected our child, you sent us to the monsters. I was blind with jealousy, Lucas shouted, tears streaming down his face. I love you. Love is a shield, Lucas, you used yours as a sword, Sarah said. She raised her hand. A wave of golden energy hit Lucas. It didn't hurt him, but it pushed him back, forcing him to stand up. He felt like he was standing in front of a mountain. You cannot stay here, Sarah declared. This forest is mine now. The ancients have given it to me and my son. Your son, Lucas whispered, his heart hammered. He's alive, the pup is okay. He is more than a pup, Sarah said, her gold eyes flashed. He is the king of the new world, and you are nothing to him. Sarah, please, Lucas begged. The pack, the elders, they will never accept a rogue queen. There will be war, other packs will hear about this power and they will come for you. Let me protect you. Sarah laughed, it was a beautiful, terrifying sound. Protect me, she asked. She flicked her wrist and a massive oak tree next to Lucas snapped in half as if it were a toothpick. I am the protection. If any wolf from any pack sets foot in these woods without my permission, they will not leave. She looked past him toward the tree line where Talon and the other trackers were just arriving. They stopped, frozen in fear, staring at the glowing woman and the spirit wolf. Go back to your castle of stone and lies, Lucas, Sarah said. Tell your people that the forest has a queen, and tell them that if they ever hurt another Omega, I will bring these trees down upon their heads. I won't leave you, Lucas roared. He tried to lung forward to grab her to spark the mate bond again. But as his fingers brushed her arm, a shock of gold lightning threw him 20 feet back. Sarah's face hardened. The golden light around her began to turn dark, like a sunset turning into a stormy night. "You chose Exile for me," Sarah said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Now I choose it for you. Leave, before I forget that I once loved you." The spirit wolf let out a thunderous howl. The trees began to move, their branches weaving together to form a wall between Sarah and the Alpha's men. Lucas screamed her name, banging his fists against the magical wooden wall, but it was no use. The sanctuary was closing. Sarah stood in the center of the clearing, her hand on her stomach. She felt the magic humming stronger than ever. She was safe, she was powerful. But as she looked at the wall of trees, a single tear of gold light fell down her cheek. The war was coming, she could feel it in the roots of the earth. The other Alphas, the greedy kings of the north and south, would see the light in the sky. They would want the magic. They would want the child. And she would have to kill them all to keep him safe. 3 months had passed. The forbidden forest was no longer a place of darkness and rot. It was a kingdom of silver light. The trees were taller, the fruit was sweeter, and the animals were larger. But at the edge of the forest, the world was screaming. The Shadow Moon pack was in chaos. Without their Luna, and with an Alpha who spent every night howling at the forest edge, the pack was weak. Lucas sat on his throne, but he looked like a skeleton. He hadn't slept in weeks. His hair was long, his beard was messy, and his eyes were sunken. He smelled like whiskey and regret. "Alpha," Talon said, entering the hall. He looked worried. "The king of the Blood Claw pack is at the gates. He brought an army." Lucas didn't even look up. "Tell him to go away." "He won't leave, Alpha," Talon said. "He says he saw the violet light. He says he knows the Omega has the star heart magic. He wants her. He says if we don't give her up, he will burn our village to the ground." Lucas finally looked up. His eyes flashed red. "Give her up. She isn't a prize to be given. She is the queen of the forest." "He doesn't care," Talon said. "He has 500 wolves out there, Lucas. We only have 200. We can't win this fight." Lucas stood up. He felt a spark of his old strength, not for himself, but for her. "Assemble the men," Lucas said. "If he wants to get to the forest, he has to go through me." Outside the castle, the Blood Claw Alpha, a massive, scarred man named Silas, was laughing. He sat on a huge brown horse, surrounded by wolves in leather armor. "Where is the girl, Lucas?" Silas shouted as Lucas walked out of the gates. "I heard you threw her away like trash. I like trash. I'll take her, and I'll take that magic baby she's carrying. Think of the power, a wolf with the magic of the ancients. I could rule the world." "You will never touch her," Lucas said. He shifted, his black fur bristling. "Kill them all," Silas ordered. The battle was bloody. The Shadow Moon wolves fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Lucas was a whirlwind of teeth and claws, tearing through Blood Claw soldiers, but even he couldn't stop them all. Silas watched from his horse, smiling. He saw a gap in the line. "There, the forest path. Go, bring me the girl." 20 of Silas's best assassins broke through the line. They shifted into their wolf forms, lean, grey killers, and raced toward the forbidden forest. "No," Lucas roared, trying to break free from 3 wolves holding him down. "Sarah, run." The assassins reached the tree line. They didn't slow down. They leaped into the silver woods, their eyes hungry for blood. But the moment their paws touched the silver moss, the birds stopped singing. The air grew cold. High up in a silver tree, Sarah stood. She was wearing a dress made of living leaves and starlight. Her golden hair flowed down her back. She looked down at the 20 wolves. "You are not welcome here," she said. Her voice didn't come from her mouth, it came from the wind itself. The assassins growled. They didn't care about a girl. They lunged, jumping toward the branches to tear her down. Sarah didn't move. She simply closed her eyes and whispered a single word. "Roots." The ground exploded. Massive, glowing roots shot up like spears. They wrapped around the assassins in midair. The wolves howled in surprise, struggling against the wooden grips. But the roots were like iron. They pulled the wolves down, pinning them to the earth. "Please," one wolf whined. Sarah jumped down from the tree, landing lightly on her feet. She walked toward the lead assassin. "Your Alpha wants my son," she said softly. She touched the wolf's head. A golden light pulsed through his brain. He saw visions of the forest burning, of his own death, of the power she held. The wolf began to cry. "Go back," Sarah ordered. "Tell Silas that the forest is hungry. If he comes again, I will not be so gentle." She snapped her fingers and the roots released them. The assassins didn't look back. They scrambled out of the woods, screaming like pups. Back at the battlefield, the fighting stopped when the assassins came running back, their faces pale with terror. "What is this?" Sealers yelled. "Where is the girl?" "She is a demon," the lead assassin cried. "The trees, they're alive, we can't win Alpha, we have to go." Sealers growled. He looked at the dark forest, then at the bloody, beaten Lucas. "This isn't over," Sealers spat. "I'll go home, I'll get the silver steel weapons, I'll get the witches from the mountains, I will have that power." The Blood Claw pack retreated, leaving the Shadow Moon lands covered in blood. Lucas stood in the mud, gasping for air. He was covered in wounds. He looked at the forest. Sarah was standing at the edge, just inside the shadow of the trees. She was watching him. "Sarah," Lucas whispered. "She didn't come to him, she didn't offer to heal his wounds." "You protected the border," she said. Her voice was cold, but there was a tiny flicker of something, maybe respect, in her eyes. "I will always protect you," Lucas said, "even if you hate me." "I don't hate you, Lucas," Sarah said. "Hate is a feeling, I feel nothing for you." Those words hurt worse than Sealers' claws. Sarah turned to walk back into the light, but suddenly she gasped. She grabbed a nearby tree for support. Her stomach was glowing. A bright, pulsing gold light was shining through her dress. "Sarah, what is it?" Lucas took a step forward, but stopped, remembering the lightning. "The baby," Sarah whispered. Her face was tight with pain. He's coming now." But the light wasn't just gold anymore. Streaks of black began to mix with the gold. The ground around her began to crack. The silver leaves on the trees started to turn black and shrivel. The spirit wolf appeared beside her, looking terrified. "The power is too much. The child is being born, but his magic is destroying the sanctuary. Sarah, you have to push, or the forest will explode." Sarah fell to her knees, screaming. The sky turned black. Lightning, black and gold lightning, began to strike the ground all around her. "I can't," Sarah cried. "It's too heavy, I'm not strong enough." Lucas saw the black magic spreading. He saw the woman he loved dying again, this time from the inside. "I'm coming," Lucas shouted. He didn't care about the lightning, he didn't care about the rules. He ran toward her. As he crossed the line into the forest, the black lightning struck him. It burned his skin, it tore his clothes, but he didn't stop. He pushed through the pain, his alpha blood roaring in his ears. He reached her, he grabbed her hands. "Let me help," Lucas yelled over the sound of the wind. "Take my strength, I am the father. Take my life if you have to, just save them." Sarah looked at him. In her moment of greatest pain, she saw the man she used to love, the man who would die for her. She gripped his hands. Her golden magic and his red alpha energy began to swirl together, forming a shield against the black light. "Push, Sarah," Lucas screamed. The forest let out a final, earth-shaking roar. A massive explosion of light blinded everyone for miles. And then, silence. In the center of the blackened clearing, Sarah lay in Lucas's arms. In her arms, wrapped in a piece of her starlight dress, was a tiny baby. He had a tuft of black hair and skin that glowed like a soft lamp. He opened his eyes. One eye was the deep, angry red of his father's alpha blood. The other eye was the brilliant, magical gold of the ancients. He didn't cry. He looked at Lucas and then he looked at Sarah. But as Lucas reached out to touch his son, a cold shadow fell over them. The spirit wolf was gone. In its place stood a tall, dark figure with a face like a skull. "The prophecy is complete," the figure said. "The king of the end is born." Before Lucas could react, the dark figure pointed a finger at the baby. "And now," the figure hissed, "he belongs to the shadow realm." The ground opened up like a giant mouse. The ground didn't just crack, it screamed. Black smoke, smelling like ancient dust and cold grave, poured out of the rift. Lucas squeezed Sarah's hand, his other arm wrapped tightly around his newborn son. "Not him," Sarah shrieked. The golden glow in her eyes flared, but she was weak. The birth had drained her magic. The king of the end lay quiet in her arms, his mismatched eyes, one red, one gold, staring up at the dark figure without a hint of fear. The skull-faced figure stepped forward. Every step he took turned the silver grass to ash. "The ancients gave you the power to carry him, Sarah, but they did not give you the power to keep him. He is the bridge between life and death. He cannot stay in the world of the living." "He stays with us," Lucas roared. He shifted his arm, baring his teeth. His alpha heart was pounding against his ribs like a war drum. He didn't care about prophecies or shadow realms, he only saw his son. The dark figure waved a hand. A wave of cold, heavy shadow hit Lucas, throwing him backward. He hit a blackened tree with a sickening thud. "Lucas," Sarah cried. She tried to stand, but the shadows wrapped around her ankles like oily snakes, pulling her toward the edge of the pit. "The child is the key to the gate," the figure hissed. "With his blood the shadows will walk the earth again. No more packs, no more alphas, only the long night." The figure reached out a skeletal hand for the baby. Suddenly the baby moved. The tiny infant reached out his small, chubby hand and grabbed the figure's finger. The dark figure froze. A pulse of light, half red, half gold, shot out from the baby's touch. The figure let out a piercing howl of pain. The shadows around Sarah's ankles disintegrated. He is burning me," the figure gasped, drawing back. Sarah saw her chance. She gathered every last drop of the ancient magic left in her soul. She didn't use it to attack. She used it to heal. She sent a beam of pure, golden light toward the wounded Lucas. Lucas felt his broken ribs knit back together. He felt the fire return to his blood. He scrambled to his feet, his eyes glowing a brighter red than ever before. He wasn't just an alpha anymore. He was a father protecting his nest. "Sarah, now," Lucas yelled. He lunged at the dark figure, shifting into his massive black wolf form midair. He slammed into the shadow man, dragging him toward the edge of the rift. The figure clawed at Lucas's fur, tearing chunks of flesh away, but Lucas didn't let go. Sarah stood up, holding the baby to her chest. She raised her hand toward the sky. "Ancient ones, if you gave me this life, help me protect it. Close the gate." The silver trees that were still standing began to hum. They leaned inward, their branches weaving together above the rift. A massive seal of violet and gold light formed in the air. Lucas saw the seal forming. He knew he had to get out, or he would be trapped in the shadow realm with the monster. He gave one final, powerful kick, shoving the skull-faced figure deep into the darkness, and tried to leap back to the surface. But the dark figure's hand shot out, grabbing Lucas's back leg. "If I go," the figure hissed, "the alpha goes with me." Lucas's claws slipped on the muddy edge. He began to slide into the abyss. "Lucas," Sarah screamed. She reached out, her fingers just inches from his. The baby in her arms let out his very first cry. It wasn't the sound of a human infant. It was a tiny, high-pitched wolf's howl that echoed through the entire forest. The magic seal slammed shut. The explosion of light was so powerful it knocked Sarah unconscious. When Sarah opened her eyes, the sun was rising. The black smoke was gone, the rift was closed. The forbidden forest was quiet, but it looked different. The silver trees were gone, replaced by normal green oaks. The magic was still there, but it was quiet now, sleeping deep in the roots. Sarah sat up, her heart racing. "Baby, Lucas." The baby was lying on a bed of soft moss next to her, wrapped in her starlight dress. He was fast asleep, his breathing steady. But Lucas was nowhere to be seen. Sarah crawled to the spot where the rift had been. The ground was solid. There was no sign that a hole to another world had ever opened there. "No," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Lucas, please." She put her ear to the ground. She shifted her form, trying to use her wolf senses to find any trace of his scent. Pine, rain, and the smell of wood smoke. The scent was faint, very faint. She looked toward the edge of the clearing. A large, black wolf was sitting there, watching her, but it wasn't Lucas. It was Talon, the Gamma. Behind him stood the remains of the Shadow Moon pack. They looked tired, bloody, and broken. Talon shifted back to human form. He walked toward her slowly and knelt. "The alpha is gone, Sarah," Talon said quietly. "We felt the bond break, all of us." Sarah shook her head, tears blurred her vision. "He isn't gone, he's somewhere else. He saved us." "The pack is without a leader," Talon continued, ignoring her protest. "The Blood Claw pack is regrouping. Sealers will be back, and now other packs know about the child. They will come for the king." Sarah looked down at her son. The baby woke up and looked at her. His red eye and his gold eye were bright and clear. He reached up and touched her cheek. A vision flashed in Sarah's mind. She saw Lucas. He wasn't dead. He was in a place of grey mist and cold wind, fighting off shadows with his bare hands. He was alive, but he was a prisoner of the shadow realm. And then she saw the future. She saw a world on fire. She saw armies of wolves marching toward her forest. She realized then that the king of the end didn't mean the end of the world. It meant the end of the old ways. The end of cruel alphas and exiled omegas. Sarah stood up. She tucked the baby into a sling made from her dress. She didn't look like a victim anymore. She didn't even look like a queen. She looked like a general. Talon, she said, her voice was cold and commanding. Yes, Luna. Don't call me Luna, Sarah said. The Shadow Moon pack is dead. From this day on we are the pack of the ancient forest. I am your alpha. Talon's eyes widened. A female alpha and omega leader, the elders will never. Sarah's eyes flashed gold. The ground beneath Talon's feet trembled. The elders can come and try to stop me, Sarah said. Gather the survivors, tell them to move into the forest. We are going to build a wall that no wolf can break. And then. She looked at the spot where Lucas had vanished. And then I am going to find my mate. 6 years later. The kingdom of the ancient forest was the most powerful territory in the world. No one called it forbidden anymore. They called it the sanctuary. The wall around the forest was made of living wood and ancient stone, reinforced by the magic of the Alpha Queen. Any wolf who was mistreated, any omega who was cast out, any pup who was alone, they all found a home here. In the center of the kingdom, a young boy sat on a high branch of an oak tree. He was 6 years old, but he was the size of a 10-year-old. He was wearing leather trousers and a simple shirt. This was Leo, the king of the new world. He watched the horizon with his mismatched eyes. He could see things others couldn't. He could see the spirits of the wind. He could see the magic flowing through the grass. Leo, come down. Leo jumped from the branch, landing perfectly on his feet. He ran toward his mother. Sarah looked older but more beautiful than ever. She wore a crown of silver leaves. At her side was Marcus, who served as her beater. He had been freed from the dungeons years ago and had remained her most loyal friend. The scouts found something at the border, Sarah said, her face serious. A group of rogues, but they aren't attacking. They're scared. Scared of what? Leo asked. They say the shadows are leaking, Sarah whispered. Since the day the rift closed, Sarah had been searching for a way to open it again. She had studied every ancient scroll. She had spoken to every spirit, but the gate required a power she didn't have. It required the blood of an alpha and the magic of the ancients, working in perfect harmony. It required her and Lucas, together. Suddenly the sky turned a bruised purple. A cold wind whipped through the trees. Leo stiffened. He looked toward the center of the village, where a stone monument stood in honor of the fallen alpha. Mom, Leo said, his voice trembling. Someone is calling me. Who's Leo? The man in the grey place, Leo said. He says the gate is thinning. He says the king of the blood claws has found a witch to tear it open from the outside. Sarah's heart stopped. Sealers, she had almost forgotten about him. He had been waiting, hiding in the mountains, gathering dark magic for 6 long years. Everyone to the wall, Sarah shouted. The village erupted into action. Hundreds of wolves shifted into their forms. They weren't the starving, scared wolves of the past. They were strong, healthy, and fiercely loyal to their queen. At the Great Wall they saw the nightmare. Sealers was there. He looked like a monster. His skin was grey and his eyes were leaking black ink. Behind him was a woman in a tattered red robe, a witch of the shadow realm. They weren't attacking the wall, they were chanting. A small, jagged crack appeared in the air in front of them. Black smoke began to hiss out. I told you I would have that power, Sarah, Sealers screamed, his voice sounding like 2 stones grinding together. If I can't have the baby, I'll let the Shadow King out. He'll destroy everything you built. The crack grew wider. A skeletal hand reached through. Leo, stay back, Sarah yelled, stepping in front of her son. But the crack didn't just stay a crack, it exploded. A massive shockwave of black energy hit the wall, cracking the ancient stones. The witch screamed as the power she had summoned became too much to handle. And then something stepped out of the rift. It wasn't a monster. It was a wolf. A massive black wolf covered in silver scars. His fur was matted with grey dust, and his eyes were a burning, hellish red. He looked like he had been fighting a war for 1,000 years. The wolf looked at Sealers. With a single, lightning-fast motion he lunged. He caught Sealers by the throat before the evil alpha could even shift. Crunch. Sealers' body went limp. The black wolf tossed him aside like a piece of garbage. The witch tried to run, but the wolf let out a growl that froze her blood. She fell to her knees, sobbing. The black wolf turned around. He looked at the wall. He looked at the woman in the silver crown. Sarah felt the breath leave her lungs. The bond, the dead, cold string in her soul, suddenly caught fire. It roared back to life, hotter and stronger than it had ever been. "Lucas," she whispered. The black wolf began to shift. It was a slow, painful process. His bones cracked, his skin stretched. A man stood in the clearing. He was tall, muscled, and covered in battle scars. His hair was long and white at the temples. He looked at Sarah with eyes that had seen the end of the world. "I told you," Lucas said, his voice raspy and deep. "I would always protect you." Sarah didn't care about her crown. She didn't care about the pack watching. She ran. She jumped into his arms, sobbing into his neck. Lucas held her so tight it hurt, breathing in her scent, vanilla and rain. "I'm sorry it took so long," Lucas whispered into her hair. "The shadows, they don't like to let go." A small shadow fell over them. Lucas looked down. He saw the boy. He saw the red eye and the gold eye. "Leo," Lucas said. He let go of Sarah and knelt in the dirt. Leo walked up to him slowly. He reached out and touched the silver scar on Lucas's cheek. "You're the man from my dreams," Leo said, "the king." "No," Lucas said, a tear finally falling down his rugged face. "I'm just a father." He pulled his son into a hug, and for the first time in 6 years the family was whole. The sun broke through the purple clouds, bathing the forest in true golden light. The witch was taken to the dungeons, the rift was gone forever, and the threat of the shadow realm was over. The kingdom of the ancient forest lived in peace for many generations. Sarah and Lucas ruled together, not as Alpha and Omega, but as equals. And their son, the king of the new world, grew up to be the wisest leader the wolfkind had ever known. They had been exiled, they had been broken, but in the end they were the ones who saved the world. What an emotional journey. Sarah and Lucas finally found their way back to each other, and their son is a legend in the making. If you enjoyed this epic alpha werewolf romance, make sure to subscribe right now and hit that bell icon so you never miss a story. What was your favorite part? The ancient magic awakening, or Lucas's dramatic return from the shadow realm? Comment below and let us know. We love reading your theories and reactions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next supernatural adventure.